And I think the best thing to say is that whereas I previously expected that the turning of the cycle into small gains would be around about the end of this year, maybe January next year, I'm thinking now it's more likely to be in autumn next year. Well, hello again, everybody. It's been a couple of weeks now since we learnt that the inflation rate for New Zealand in the year to September was 7.2% and not the 6.6%, which was commonly expected. As a result of that, we saw extra increases in wholesale interest rates. We've seen banks announce a round of rises to their fixed mortgage lending rates, usually about 0.5% or so for the terms from 1 out to 5 years. And obviously, we're all now trying to get a feel for what does this mean for the residential real estate market going forward. And in particular, I guess from my point of view, the question I'm asking myself is, do I still think we are in the end game for this period of falling house prices, weakening sales in the housing market nationwide on average since November last year? Well, my opinion is yes, we are still in the end game, which doesn't mean the market's going up anytime soon. It means it is still going down. Prices are still falling. Sales are still easing, but these things are happening at a slowing pace. And I think the best thing to say is that whereas I previously expected that the turning of the cycle into small gains would be around about the end of this year, maybe January next year, I'm thinking now it's more likely to be in autumn next year. Clearly, with borrowing costs up another 0.5% and around the world interest rates still rising, etc., it's just going to make some people find themselves in a position where, in fact, they cannot afford a house at the moment. And maybe just a few buyers also thinking, well, actually, I'll just wait and see. There might be a few more pressed vendors out there, and maybe I'll get some better prices. And clearly, higher interest rates do suggest that prices will go down slightly further than would otherwise be the case. Now, I do have one set of data in hand from my one of my 5 monthly surveys to give some insight into what is happening. And this is the monthly survey I do of real estate agents all around the country. I've had about 440 or so people reply, and there are basically two clear things that come through. Number one, first home buyers are still in the market. There's been a small decrease in the net proportion of agents saying they are seeing more first home buyers coming into the market, an increase, new people appearing. So it's still definitely positive. It's just back a little bit from where it was 4 weeks ago. But that was the main thing which was moving previously as of about 3 months ago in the survey of real estate agents, the other one I do of mortgage advisors. And what people like myself have been looking for is to see whether the other two big groups in the real estate market will be following the first home buyers, those two groups being the investors and the owner occupiers. Now, unfortunately, none of my surveys specifically address the issue of what the owner-occupiers are doing, partly because they're really just selling and buying in the same market. So while that's definitely relevant for turnover in the market, it's not necessarily a driving force of where prices are going to go. And so what about investors? Well, yes, I've been asking the likes of agents and mortgage advisors about investors since when the survey started back in the first lockdown of 2020. And what we can see definitely in my most recent survey of the real estate agents is that the investors have backed away even further. Not as far back in the shadows as they were 3, 5, 9 months or so ago, but they had previously, up until the inflation number and the rise in interest rates, been taking a bit more interest in what the first home buyers were doing. Agents were still overall saying they were seeing fewer investors, but to a smaller degree than before. Well, no, now definitely a lot of agents saying the investors have stepped right back again. And clearly, I'd say the investors are looking for some certainty about how high interest rates are going to go before maybe they commit themselves to a purchase. And of course, the big area of uncertainty out there lies with the political opinion polls. As I've said before, and I can see myself saying it quite a number of times over the next 12 months, if the polls show that National are likely to form the next government, then we are likely to see investors coming back into the market because of National's promise to restore at least interest expense deductibility. So lots of water to go under the bridge as ever, but just wanted to give that insight into what's happening as a result of the interest rate increases. First home buyers are still there, just back a little bit, but the investors, they've gone back in the shadows again. All the best.